I mean, how could a person, after reading this headline, not want to defund the police, work towards abolishing them, as well as our criminal and justice system here in the United States? Look at this. Louisiana Supreme Court upholds black man's life sentence for stealing hedge clippers more than 20 years ago. I mean, for fuck's sake, again, it needs to be pointed out there's two completely different set of laws for the rich and the powerful in the United States, and then somebody like this is, of course, it's a person of color disproportionately locked up, targeted, faced with harsher sentences, etc. Than white people, but obviously, criminal and justice system targets poor people, other oppressed and marginalized groups, along with disproportionately, locking up people of color. But look at all the people on Wall Street that broke so many laws, led to the financial collapse of 2008, 2009, slap on the wrist at best. And then you have somebody, literally a life sentence now, for stealing a pair of freaking hedge clippers 20 years ago. It is disgusting. It is disgusting. Fairwayne Bryant was convicted in 1997 on one count of attempted simple burglary. In his appeal to the Second Circuit Court of Louisiana in 2018, his attorney Peggy Sullivan wrote that Bryant, quote, contends that his life sentence is unconstitutionally harsh and excessive. Yes, I don't... What kind of really sick, sadistic, authoritarian piece of shit person would you have to be to try to justify a life sentence for somebody for stealing a pair of hedge clippers over 20 freaking years ago? I mean, it's disgusting. It is disgusting. Last week, though, the state Supreme Court disagreed with 5 justices choosing to uphold the life sentence. The lone dissenter in the decision was Supreme Court Chief Justice Burnett Johnson, who wrote that, quote, the sentence imposed is excessive and disproportionate to the offense the defendant committed. Again, he stole a pair of hedge clippers 20 years ago. He's been in jail for that offense ever since. And again, people on Wall Street and the financial industry, etc., people committing these white collar crimes because they tend to be wealthy, powerful, disproportionately white as well, they get away with it. They get away with looting the public of millions, billions, sometimes trillions of dollars. I mean, it is disgusting. And again, the criminal and justice system is obviously hugely racist. And look at this. Johnson is the only female and black person on the court. The rest of the justices are white men. I think there's probably a lot of, racism and white supremacy floating through their brains when they have to support a decision like this. Like, I'm really going to show that person, I'm going to put that black person in their place. They're not going to steal hedge clippers again. I'm the white person. I hold their life in my hands, and fuck them. I'm going to really show it. It's just so disgusting. The sentence is sanctioned under the habitual offender law, Johnson noted in her dissent, meaning that Bryant's previous criminal history supports this. Like, that is so ridiculous, that the whole kind of like 3 strikes or habitual offender law, as they talk about it here, hugely racist and problematic, and somebody's past crime should not be held against them. For fuck's sake, again, he stole a pair of hedge clippers 20 years ago. That should be literally like a fine at most. At most. And again, if we really wanted people to slow down or lessen, the recidivism rate, we would invest in the people who have been involved with the carceral system, give them opportunities, give them chances, education, housing, mental health services, skills training, whatever, so they're able to, provide for themselves and their family. Otherwise, you have that felon label. It makes it a lot harder to get a good paying job. And again, that's because that's not the whole purpose of the criminal justice system in the U.S. is meant to punish people, to make it harder for them to reintegrate back into society, so we can keep our prisons and jails full, keep funding those for-profit prisons and detention centers, etc. I mean, it's just disgusting. The costs associated with Bryant's sentence, writing that in his 23 years in prison, he's cost Louisiana taxpayers over $500,000. What a pair of Hedge clippers back then, probably 20, $30 max. If he lives another 20 years, Louisiana taxpayers will have paid almost $1 million to punish Mr. Bryant for his failed effort to steal a set of Hedge clippers, she wrote. Bryant's sentence is a modern manifestation of pig laws, which were created in the years after Reconstruction, that's after the Civil War. Johnson also said the laws criminalized recently emancipated African American citizens by introducing extreme sentences for petty theft associated with poverty, like anti-vagrancy laws, etc., she wrote. The man's life sentence for a failed attempt to steal a set of 3 Hedge clippers is grossly out of proportion to the crime and serves no legitimate penal purpose, Johnson wrote. While Johnson said she would grant the appeal, 5 justices denied it and went abstained. Sullivan, Bryant's appellate attorney, told CNN she agrees with Johnson's dissent. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. I mean, again, the United States is not... It's not the land of the free. We lock up more people than anywhere in the world, disproportionately people of color, as well as other poor and marginalized and oppressed groups, political dissidents, etc. And we, as Chris Hedges points out, you can really look at the character of a society by how it treats its most vulnerable. Case in point, this life sentence for stealing a pair of Hedge clippers 20 years ago. It's disgusting. This kind of stuff that makes me ashamed to be a citizen of the United States. Peace. Love.